Hello and welcome. You're watching Good Morning India. I'm Gargi Rawat. Up ahead, all the news you need to know and the latest on the aftermath of the devastating earthquakes in Turkey.
That's already claimed 4,000 lives, and what's worse is the WHO is warning that the death toll could increase by almost 8-fold. Let's get you the headlines.
Over 4,000 are killed in both Turkey and Syria after powerful earthquakes flattened thousands of buildings. Rescue workers dig through the night. India has sent the first batch of relief materials.
India's maximum city, Mumbai, reeling from toxic pollution for months now, leading to a big increase in people facing chest infections and asthma.
Both the BJP and Aam Aadmi Party to hold protests today after the mayor elections were called off for the third time due to disruptions.
Big win for the EPS ahead of the Erode East by-poll. Election Commission to accept EPS's nominee as the AIADMK candidate. The OPS candidate has withdrawn.
And Google announces it's launching a chat GPT rival Bard, releases an AI service to early testers. Our top story now, a major earthquake struck Turkey and Syria on Monday, killing more than 4,000 people. Now it's said 4,000, that number is just going up and up, flattening thousands of buildings as rescuers have dug with their bare hands through the night for survivors.
Very, very tragic news. Dozens of nations pledging aid after that 7.8 magnitude quake which hit as people were still sleeping amid freezing weather. That has hampered the efforts that are being put in for the rescue operations. Multi-story apartment buildings full of residents were among the 5,606 structures that have been reduced to rubble in Turkey.
And while Syria also announced dozens of collapses as well as damage to archaeological sites in Aleppo, the European Union is sending search and rescue teams to Turkey, while rescuers from Netherlands and Romania are already on their way. The UK said it will send 76 specialist equipment and rescue dogs.
Gargi, France and Germany as well as Israel and the United States have also pledged their help. Russia and Iran have offered to help both Turkey as well as Syria.
And India too announced, the MEA tweeted this morning that India's humanitarian assistance and disaster relief capabilities in action. The first batch of earthquake relief material leaves for Turkey along with NDRF search and rescue teams, specially trained dog squads, medical supplies, drilling machines and other necessary equipment.
Yes, as you know, a massive earthquake took place in Turkey and Syria today morning, and based on the inputs, a lot of casualties have occurred. So the government of India, as a measure of HADR, that is the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operations that we do, the government has taken a decision to send 2 teams of NDRF to Turkey to help us in conducting the rescue and relief operations. So about 101 persons from 2 teams, one of the 8th Battalion at Ghaziabad and the other from 2nd Battalion at Kolkata. They will be going for this mission.
Moving on from maximum city to maximum toxicity, Mumbai is now one of the most polluted cities in the world. And Gargi, many people now coming out with a lot of infection as far as the chest is concerned, and that is being reported in Mumbai.
That's right, and Mumbai has beaten Delhi on many days, and not in a good way, of course. Experts say it's a combination of factors like metro construction, repair of roads, falling temperature and increasing number of vehicles that have caused the deterioration in air quality, and as Divya, you were saying, an increase in infections, chest infections, asthma.
Mumbai's famous landmarks in a hazy blur at 3 p.m. in the afternoon. For 3 months now, India's financial capital has been badly polluted. Even more than Delhi in the last 24 hours. Mumbai's air quality index was 259 on Monday, which falls in the poor category. In the last 3 months, the city's pollution levels have been in the poor to very poor category 66 times. That's a big change from the last 2 to 3 years, when the average number of poor to very poor air days in Mumbai were about 28 per year.
This is mainly due to the fact that Mumbai has temporarily lost its natural cleansing mechanism, and those includes mainly the additional sources which has been added, like digging activities, construction activities and all, in addition to industries and other things.
The polluted air has affected mostly the elderly and small children this year.
मोस्टली अबव 60 और 50 और 60 एज के पेशेंट्स और अडल्ट्स में, और छोटे बच्चों जो है 5 और 6 साल के बीच में जो रहते हैं, तो ऐसे बच्चों में वायरल इन्फेक्शन, सर्दी, खांसी वगैरह ऐसे हैं, और क्रोनिक ब्रोंकाइटिस है और एक्यूट एक्सासर्बेशन जो ब्रोंकियल अस्थमा वगैरह है.
Last month, Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde directed the BMC to install air purifiers in the city. Former Environment Minister Aditya Thackeray has called this an absolute waste of public money. The BMC is one of India's richest civic bodies and has allocated just 25 crore rupees to tackle air pollution.
The budget does speak about it. It's not just speaking about greening ourselves. It's not speaking about transitioning into from fossil fuel to renewable. It's also talking about waste management.
At a time when Mumbai's air quality is in poor category, neither does the state government or the BMC have a dedicated environment minister. While the people are facing a lot of issues, it seems that this is not a political issue for several politicians. In Mumbai, with camera person Rajendra Dayalkar, Sohit Mishra, NDTV.
Another big political story in Delhi today, where both Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP will be holding rival protests over the disruption in the mayor polls for a third time. The House of Municipal Corporation of Delhi failed to conduct the mayor's election for the third time in a month after presiding officer Satya Sharma adjourned the meeting on Monday because of the ruckus.
Now, following the adjournment of the House, Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia said that the party has decided to seek the Supreme Court's intervention for impartial elections for the mayor.
Let's go across to Vedant for more. And Vedant, you were, tracking all those developments yesterday. Once again, the mayor elections put off. Now the Aam Aadmi Party going to the Supreme Court. And today, you'll have these rival protests taking place.
Well, absolutely, Gargi, and as we reported yesterday as well, that in the coming days, the politics of the national capital is only going to intensify, with both the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP at loggerheads over the mayoral polls. In fact, yesterday the Aam Aadmi Party said that it will approach the Supreme Court and appeal for a court-monitored election within 10 days. So that is also likely today. And other than that, the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP, both of them will be holding protests at the party headquarters today. And what is also significant is that the BJP, meanwhile, has also alleged poaching attempts by the Aam Aadmi Party. The BJP this time has said that the Aam Aadmi Party has tried to reach out to their councillors and also offered them multiple crores, while the Aam Aadmi Party is constantly saying that the BJP is just trying to find a way to postpone and delay the mayoral elections. Now remember, it's been almost 2 months since the MCD elections, and still Delhi is without a mayor. Delhi, remember, is one of the largest civic bodies, not just in India but across the world. So of course, it's given the fact that the union budget is also out, and most municipal corporations across India already have their budget in place, Delhi is still battling for the post of mayor. Now, as far as the protests today are concerned, the Aam Aadmi Party will be holding protests at the BJP headquarters, and the BJP at the Aam Aadmi Party headquarters. So of course, that is also going to be important because politics over these elections continues. And in fact, yesterday the flashpoint was that the speaker, the pro tem speaker appointed by Delhi's Lieutenant Governor, she announced that the aldermen or the nominated members will also have a right to vote. Now that is going against the Delhi Municipal Corporation Act, because the DMC Act clearly states that the nominated members, they are appointed only on the condition that they will not be allowed to vote in house meetings. So, we saw ruckus in the house yesterday. Immediately after after that announcement was made. And in fact, the BJP also started protesting because they allege that the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to delay the mayoral polls. Now, another important announcement was that the Pro Tem Speaker said that all the three elections for the post of mayor, deputy mayor and the standing committee, all of them will take place parallelly and at the same time. Now that is significant too because, the mayor once appointed oversees the other elections. So of course it's going against protocol and that's what the Aam Aadmi Party is alleging. But let's just in fact have a look at the sequence of events, what unfolded yesterday, because that is what has led to the politics that we will be witnessing in the national capital today. Let's just have a look.
Still no mayor for one of India's most high-profile civic bodies, the MCD, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, despite 3 sittings and a 2-month-old election result that saw an Aam Aadmi Party victory. Today's proceedings were called off after 10 councillors nominated by Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena were allowed to vote. The Delhi Municipal Corporation Act says that nominated members or aldermen cannot vote in house meetings. The Aam Aadmi Party has strongly opposed voting rights for the nominated members, alleging that these members are inclined to support the BJP. The BJP says that the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to sabotage the polls and that it is the presiding officer's decision that aldermen can vote. The Aam Aadmi Party won 134 of the 250 wards in last December's MCD polls. The BJP finished second with 104 seats.
जनता ने इनको हरा दिया है तो ये इलीगल तरीके से अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल तरीके से अब अफसरों के जरिए नगर निगम को बीजेपी चला रही है। ये बर्दाश्त नहीं है। अब हम इसके लेके पूरी उम्मीद रखते हैं कि अब जब ये असंवैधानिक काम हो रहा है भारतीय जनता पार्टी द्वारा और गुंडागिरी खुलेआम हो रही है तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में इसको लेके जाएंगे।
9 भारतीय जनता पार्टी के काउंसलर्स को अप्रोच किया गया और कहा गया कि उन्हें कभी पद का लालच, कभी पोजीशन का लालच और कभी पैसों का लालच देने का प्रयास किया गया। अब अगर आपको पूरा भरोसा है, विश्वास है तो आप मेयर बनने देते और उसके बाद जो आपको चैलेंज करना है आप चैलेंज कर सकते थे। आपने क्यों नहीं करने दिया?
The BJP lost control of the municipal body after 15 years in power. The Aam Aadmi Party alleges that the BJP is trying to gain control of the mayor's post by unethical means. In this political game of numbers, the worst hit are the residents of Delhi, who are still without a mayor even after they gave their mandate nearly 2 months ago. Well, in the coming days, the politics in the national capital is likely to intensify with a fresh battleground now between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. In New Delhi with camera person Karan Patra, Vedant for NDTV.
Welcome back. Now, a big win for the EPS ahead of the Road East by-poll election. The OPS faction of the AIADMK has withdrawn its candidate from the Road East by-election scheduled to be held on the 27th of this month, Gargi.
That's right, and this saga has been on for such a long time. Now, this after the Election Commission is set to accept the EPS nominee as the AIADMK candidate for the Road East by-poll. Let's go across to Sam for more on this. And Sam, tell us how this came about. There were negotiations and finally a big win for EPS.
That's right. As far as this particular Road East by-election is concerned, Gargi and Divya, this is a shot in the arm for EPS and team. This came about after initially both these leaders said they would contest representing the AIADMK. At that time, there was uncertainty whether they would get the 2 lead symbol because as per the Election Commission records, these 2 leaders ought to sign together, which was unlikely to happen. Later, EPS had gone to the Supreme Court asking for a directive to the Election Commission to accept his team as the official AIADMK since the AIADMK General Council had elected him as the interim general secretary last year and expelled OPS. And Election Commission said its job is not to look into that particular election process, but the Supreme Court directed the ADMK 2 teams to route the selection of the candidate, the procedure through their general council. Accordingly, EPS had written to all the general council members asking whether they are fine with his choice of the candidate or otherwise. And all of them, we understand, had said yes. And taking those papers to the Election Commission with the backing of the Supreme Court directive, yesterday the Election Commission accepted their filing and instructed the returning officer at Erode East constituency to accept the presidium chairman of the AIADMK led by EPS as the person who would sign the Form A and Form B to get the two-leaf symbol. And this implies that whenever the AIADMK would file nomination, which today is the last day for that, automatically that person would be taken in as the official AIADMK candidate. And interestingly, yesterday, OPS also announced that his candidate would withdraw from the race. He did not want to be seen to be fighting against the official candidate. But still, the larger issue is pending in the Supreme Court whether the election of EPS itself is valid or not. But this is a temporary advantage for EPS. We'll have to wait and watch what the final order would say. That would determine who will be the permanent boss of the AIADMK in this context, Divya and Gargi.
Thank you so much, Sam, for getting us all those details. Please stay on for our next story as well. That's lawyer Victoria Gowri is scheduled to be sworn in as the Madras High Court judge today morning. The ceremony will be conducted when a Supreme Court bench will also be listening to that plea, a petition challenging her elevation as a judge.
That's right, and this seems very unprecedented territory, new territory, isn't it, Sam? The petition challenging her appointment has been listed for hearing today morning at the Supreme Court. At the same time, she will be sworn in to the Madras High Court. And just to tell our viewers that her elevation was opposed by a group of 21 lawyers who cited instances of Victoria Gowri seen making hateful remarks against minority communities.
That's right, Gargi and Divya. We come to you from outside the Madras High Court, and at 10:35, as per the present schedule, Ms. Victoria Gowri and 4 others would be sworn in as judges. And around 11 o'clock, the Supreme Court is also scheduled to hear a plea against Ms. Victoria Gowri's elevation. And this petition by a group of senior lawyers from the Chennai bar alleged that she had made hate speeches against the minorities when she was a member of the BJP and the RSS earlier. And they say, going by this video, they say her continuation or her elevation, they say is not constitutional. They say a person to be appointed as a judge should not harbor any antipathy towards any section. And here we have a record of her speaking against minority communities, and they've raised the question whether any minority litigants, if they seek justice under her, would they get justice? And the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice yesterday had acknowledged that certain information has come to their knowledge after the recommendation of her candidature to be elevated as Madras High Court. We'll have to see whether there would be any change, number one, in the swearing-in ceremony, because a couple of senior lawyers and a few journalists have also written to the Chief Justice of the Madras High Court as well as the Chief Justice of India, saying that in this change scenario, it may not be right to administer the oath of office to Ms. Victoria Gowri. We'll have to see what will happen, but it's certainly a rare case, although senior lawyers point out in the year 1992, there was one such case in which, after recommendation, senior lawyers' elevation was put on hold.
All right, so we'll have to wait and see, how this story develops this morning with a hearing in the Supreme Court as well as the swearing-in to take place in the Madras High Court.
That's right, Gargi. We will keep coming back to Sam for more on that. Moving on, President Joe Biden on Monday said that relations between Washington and Beijing are not weakened by the United States downing of a suspected Chinese spy balloon over the weekend.
The U.S. President said, "We did the right thing and it's not a question of weakening or strengthening, it's reality."
No. We've made it clear to China what we're going to do. They understand our position. We're not going to back off. We did the right thing. And there's not a question of weakening or strengthening. It's just reality.
Get more on the situation in Mumbai. We have Dr. Milind Kulkarni, expert in air pollution, and has also authored a book on personal exposure to air pollution. We also have Dr. Pinto joining us, consultant pulmonologist and epidemiologist from Hinduja Hospital. Let me take my first question to Dr. Kulkarni. Some of the factors which is adding to the pollution of Mumbai includes the construction activity, especially the metro, the repair of the roads, also the temperature, the wind direction that's changing. So all these factors are contributing. Tell us, since when are you seeing a spike in the number of people who are coming in with, say, shortness of breath or, a prolonged cough? Or since when are you seeing the air quality worsening as far as Mumbai, a city, a coastal city where the pollution is worsening?
Yes. First of all, I thank NDTV to take this important issue of air pollution and inviting me for this particular show. So you will find that always in winter, the vertical dispersion of air pollutant is restricted due to the formation of an inversion layer at the top. And you know, there are various area sources which are scattered throughout Mumbai. And because of this, the pollutants like particulate matter 2.5, particulate matter 10, nitrogen oxides, they are not getting diluted because of the vertical dispersion. And this all is leading to the increased sicknesses due to respiratory symptoms. As you know, air is one of the most important thing for the life. If you don't have water, you can survive for some days. If you don't have food, you can survive for some months. But if you don't have air, you can't even survive for a few minutes. But normally this issue is ignored because you don't feel the impact immediately. So I think it is necessary that we should emphasize on the enforcement. So Pollution Control Board is the authority. However, they have limited manpower. So Bruhan Mumbai Municipal Corporation or BMC, which has 24 ward offices and assistant engineer post in each ward, they have manpower. So together, unless we tackle the sources in the long term, this problem of bad air quality is not going to vanish. So concerted efforts are required by political leadership, bureaucracy, even citizens, scientists, to control this problem of air pollution.
Right,
so
but Dr. Kulkarni, one of the reasons cited is, most of Bombay is dug up right now. In Mumbai, we're seeing so much work taking place, and we've seen Mumbaikars complaining about this. So the government itself or the authorities itself are also, causing this air pollution because of this construction across the city.
Yeah, I agree there with you, Gargi, that construction activities are taking place all over Mumbai. Apart from these digging activities of roads, a lot of redevelopment activities taking place where housing societies are going for new buildings. But there is a way to control it. All these construction activities can be enclosed properly. You have ready-mix concretes, right? So you can have proper scrubbing arrangement and you can reduce the air pollutants like particulate matter at the source itself. So a lot is required in the form of vigilance, enforcement, and then you can go side by side construction activities as well as the reduction of air pollutants at the source. So there also we need to have proper enforcement.
Right, it's just so surprising being a coastal city. I mean, here in Delhi, we know our problem that
we're landlocked, and yet we've seen some days where the pollution count in Mumbai has been higher than even what it's been here in the national capital.
Right, Dr. Pinto, if you could tell us about what you've been, seeing in terms of this is really affecting the elderly and children as well. We've been seeing so many complaints, isn't it, Divya, of people talking about how their children are getting infections again and again.
Hi, good morning, and thanks for inviting me to the show. So as a pulmonologist, this time of the year tends to be a tough time for patients in any case, because there are a lot of viral infections. The pollution levels traditionally also tend to be higher. So we've seen three patterns basically. So individuals who've had underlying lung diseases like COPD, asthma, lung fibrosis, they tend to have exacerbations or attacks at this point of the year. But most of us pulmonologists agree that it seems to be a higher prevalence this year. Then we've seen post-viral cough. So individuals who have a viral infection, a respiratory viral infection for a day or two, but then have a cough that lasts for a month, month and a half. And these have been really prolonged coughs that we've seen. And it's not surprising in a way. Your lung is trying to recover from an infection and then you subject it to all these toxic pollutants in the air. Your lung really doesn't get a time to rest and it's constantly irritated. The third pattern that we've seen, which is very worrisome, is individuals who've never had asthma, never had respiratory problems, have now been behaving as if they have asthma. They've been wheezing, they've been having tightness of the chest, shortness of breath, and we've had to resort to inhalers, sometimes to steroids to kind of settle this inflammation. And if you look at the WHO guidelines when it comes to AQI, this is exactly what they describe, that once the air quality tends to be poor, individuals who don't have respiratory problems will start facing respiratory problems. And that's the reason this classification of the air quality is in place. And if you look at Mumbai since the end of October, we've had very few days in which the air quality has been satisfactory. Now, while experts keep talking about natural phenomena and, there's La Nina that people talk about air currents, I think we aren't doing our bit in terms of doing our bit to avoid adding to this air pollution in terms of digging, construction, redevelopment. And I think there should be some sort of a regulation in place to control what we add to the air rather than just expect coastal winds to come and solve our problems.
Right, so the kind of money that's been set aside is about 25 crores by the BMC in order to tackle the pollution, the problem at hand. But when you talk about shortness of breath or this prolonged cough, we're seeing 50 to 60% increase as far as the patients who are now in hospitals or coming to see a doctor in hospitals in Mumbai. So that's the kind of increase we're seeing, especially over the last 2 months. Very poor category of air since December, especially in January, also continuing in the month of February. So what are the precautions that one takes, in order to avoid that prolonged cough or being choked?
So, I mean, the simple solution that people seem to very trivially and casually say is wear an N95 mask and you'll be fine. But it's not that simple. It's not easy to wear an N95 mask when you have underlying respiratory illnesses. That tends to be claustrophobic. It tends to be difficult to breathe through it. Masks also need to be frequently changed because with this kind of an air quality, the pores of the mask get clogged very easily. So, I mean, one of the solutions is to wear a mask, but, you must make sure that you frequently change the masks. The other advice that we would give patients who have underlying respiratory diseases is if you are stepping out of the house, please make sure that the air quality is slightly better. Choose the time of the day when maybe you are likely to have slightly better air quality before stepping out of the house. And avoid all sorts of activities which are non-essential when it comes to being exposed to the outside air, especially if you have an underlying disease or you are recovering from an underlying respiratory infection.
Right. Dr. Kulkarni, there's a proposal to install those air purifying towers also in Mumbai, but this is something very controversial. Even in Delhi, there have been so many experts who say they have no impact. It's just a lot of waste of money, and it gives the authorities some sort of a way of claiming that they have taken some action.
Exactly. I totally agree with you, Gargi, there, because these are some patchwork measures, I will say. If you want to really improve the air quality, you need long-term measures. And what is surprising is that there is no talk of enforcement in any of these control measures, which is the most important thing. Like Mumbai has a population of 1.3 crore, and 1.3 crore people are, emitting different sources in their slums, in their houses. There are very authorized industries, unauthorized industries. And, proper inventorization is required. What are the different sources? There are automobiles, there are construction activities, there are indoor sources, there are restaurants. And you need to control these air pollutants at the source by enforcing. So BMC has got 24 wards, and each wards, there are officers. And then there is citizens' bodies like ALMs. So all these people should come together, Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, and enforce these sources. And in the long run, definitely we can have this good air quality. Like Los Angeles, this problem was there earlier. They have solved this. London, even Beijing has solved this problem by taking proper control measures. And Mumbai also definitely can solve it. But we have to come out of these compartments, form a big team, and resort to enforcement along with inputs from research. And this is possible. These control measures I will recommend.
Well, it's an issue that in Delhi here we've been raising for years now, especially NDTV has been raising for years, and every year we still have that massive pollution problem every winter, and now in Mumbai as well, it's becoming worse and worse, and clearly
no longer a North India problem, Gargi, no longer, across the Indo-Gangetic plains, but going down to the coastal city of Mumbai, where you usually find good quality air given its proximity to the sea. With that, thank you so much, Dr. Kulkarni, as well as Dr. Pinto, for joining us this morning to get us more details about the situation at hand in Mumbai. With that, we're stepping a short break. Lots more coming up on the other side. Welcome back. Now, the anti-encroachment drive by the Jammu and Kashmir Union Territory Administration has snowballed into a major controversy. The opposition has accused the administration for targeting poor and political opponents in the name of the anti-encroachment drive. There are protests at multiple places as the land cultivated and inhabited by people for generations have now been declared illegal encroachment. The government has directed all the district collectors to retrieve state land, leased land as well as common use land and also grazing land occupied by people. We have my colleague Nazir joining us to get us more details. Nazir, questions being raised about the motive and the legality of the Jammu and Kashmir anti-encroachment drive.
Well, we have seen there's a massive anti-encroachment drive which is going on for last over 2 weeks across Jammu and Kashmir, and there's not a single place which is not actually witnessing some sort of protest, resentment, and even social chaos, because everybody has some land. This is the only place across the country, Jammu and Kashmir, where everybody is owning a land or using land, whether it is the state land or the property land, because of the Land Reforms Act in 1950. So now the government has come with the order that this land, state land or the common use land, except property land, they should be retrieved. People should be evicted from this land. And now order is clearly the entire land should be, retrieved. But then when there was a, protest and all that, government is now saying, LG administration is now saying, no, we're only targeting the rich and influential, but there's no formal order. So officials are following the order which has been issued by the government. If you these visuals clearly speak, these small makeshift structure don't belong to any rich and influential. They are belong to the poor people. That's why we see everywhere yesterday, Mahbub Mufti, Umar Abdullah, Sajjad Lone, they held press conference and blamed government actually dispossessing people. So according to the reports, around 4 lakh, near 4 lakh canals of land has been retrieved in Kashmir Valley only, which is around 50,000 acres of land. So it is actually, people are worried what would happen to them, their livelihood. Many people are losing livelihood because shops built on them have been demolished. Bulldozers are being used in every district. And even yesterday, Umar Abdullah talking about, why bulldozer has become the first, response to the situation, why notices are not being issued, why, they are not following the due process. Mahbub Mufti even saying that it is worse than Palestine. And she said they're making Kashmir like Afghanistan. This is that Mahbub Mufti said, and Sajjad Lone is blaming, these bureaucrats and the LG administration, saying those people who have come here for some time working here, they are, pushing people to poverty and homelessness. So really a major issue, the government talking about remove encroachments from the state land, but it's impacting almost everybody in Jammu and Kashmir across 20 districts. And there is a protest, in fact, few days back, we saw stone pelting in Jammu, where there were clash, there were protests, and then at least 5 people have been formally arrested for stone pelting in Jammu. But anti-encroachment drive, which government says will continue, and it is actually continuing across Jammu and Kashmir, across 20 districts of Jammu and Kashmir, which has caused a lot of confusion and social chaos, and people fear for their home, people for their livelihood, and people for their fear for their land they have been cultivating for generations.
Right, Nazir, thank you so much for getting us all those details. We will keep tracking the story and coming back to you for more as protests are being planned across Jammu and Kashmir. Moving on, today both Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP will be holding rival protests in Delhi over the disruption in the mayor polls for the 3rd time. The House of the Municipal Corporation of Delhi failed to conduct the mayor's election for the 3rd time in a matter of a month after presiding officer adjourned the meeting on Monday owing to the ruckus. Following the adjournment of the House, Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia said that the party has decided now to seek the Supreme Court's intervention for the impartial election of the mayor. To get more details on this, we have my colleague Vedant joining us. Vedant, after the 3rd attempt at the Delhi mayor polls that failed, now protests are being planned by rival sides.
Well, absolutely, Divya. The Delhi deadlock continues really. Yesterday, of course, for the 3rd time, both the rival parties clashed again over the mayoral polls in the national capital, and they were disrupted again. Soon after they got disrupted and the House was adjourned, the Aam Aadmi Party declared that they will be going to the Supreme Court and they will demand court-monitored elections and the elections to be complete within 10 days. Now, for our viewers outside Delhi, what this huge standoff is all about. I remember the Aam Aadmi Party had a landslide victory back in December as far as the MCD elections were concerned. They were high-stakes battle, and after that, now the battle, an open battle, is for the post of mayor and deputy mayor of the national capital. And the BJP has declared that this is an open house and they will be contesting these polls. So remember, even though the Aam Aadmi Party has the numbers as far as the MCD is concerned, Delhi may have or could have a BJP mayor. How is that going to work? So the Aam Aadmi Party has close to 134 councillors. The BJP meanwhile has around 105 councillors. So remember, the 10 aldermen or the nominated members will be allowed to vote. That is what the pro tem speaker, the temporary speaker, said yesterday. So 10 votes of these nominated members plus potential cross votes from from the Aam Aadmi Party, because remember this is a secret ballot, that could lead to a BJP mayor despite an Aam Aadmi Party victory in the MCD. So that is all. That is what this huge standoff is all about. So it remains to be seen what happens. But today, both the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP will be protesting. The BJP at the Aam Aadmi Party headquarters and the Aam Aadmi Party at the BJP headquarters. So of course, politics is only likely to intensify in the coming days. But let's just have a look at what really triggered this huge political standoff. Yesterday, the speaker said that the nominated members will be allowed to vote, and what followed was ruckus in the MCD house for the third consecutive time. Let's just have a look.
Still no mayor for one of India's most high-profile civic bodies, the MCD, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi, despite 3 sittings and a 2-month-old election result that saw an Aam Aadmi Party victory. Today's proceedings were called off after 10 councillors nominated by Lieutenant Governor V.K. Saxena were allowed to vote. The Delhi Municipal Corporation Act says that nominated members or aldermen cannot vote in house meetings. The Aam Aadmi Party has strongly opposed voting rights for the nominated members, alleging that these members are inclined to support the BJP. The BJP says that the Aam Aadmi Party is trying to sabotage the polls and that it is the presiding officer's decision that aldermen can vote. The Aam Aadmi Party won 134 of the 250 wards in last December's MCD polls. The BJP finished second with 104 seats.
जनता ने इनको हरा दिया है, तो ये इलीगल तरीके से, अनकॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल तरीके से अब अफसरों के जरिए नगर निगम को बीजेपी चला रही है. ये बर्दाश्त नहीं है. अब हम इसके लेके पूरी उम्मीद रखते हैं कि अब जब ये असंवैधानिक काम हो रहा है भारतीय जनता पार्टी द्वारा और गुंडागिरी खुलेआम हो रही है, तो सुप्रीम कोर्ट में इसको लेके जाएंगे.
9 भारतीय जनता पार्टी के काउंसलर्स को अप्रोच किया गया और कहा गया कि उन्हें कभी पद का लालच, कभी पोजीशन का लालच और कभी पैसों का लालच देने का प्रयास किया गया. अब अगर आपको पूरा भरोसा है, विश्वास है, तो आप मेयर बनने देते और उसके बाद जो आपको चैलेंज करना है आप चैलेंज कर सकते थे. आपने क्यों नहीं करने दिया?
The BJP lost control of the municipal body after 15 years in power. The Aam Aadmi Party alleges that the BJP is trying to gain control of the mayor's post by unethical means.
In this political game of numbers, the worst hit are the residents of Delhi, who are still without a mayor even after they gave their mandate nearly 2 months ago. Well, in the coming days, the politics in the national capital is likely to intensify with a fresh battleground now between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. In New Delhi with camera person Kanan Patra, Vedant for NDTV.